the record button so don't forget. Welcome to SIG-Apps. Today is October 17th. I'm pretty excited about today's schedule. We have some updates, a demo, and some scheduled discussion topics. So first and foremost, we are planning on meeting the day before KubeCon in Seattle in November. And we have a survey going around. It's on the agenda, and I'll paste a link in a second as well in the chat. Please, if you're going to KubeCon, we'd love to meet up in person with you. So fill out the survey so we can figure out logistics and all of that. And just a reminder, all of you are encouraged to add meeting minutes to the agenda directly. Feel free to do so. And with that, we'll go into the first demo. And I'm going to really mess up this name, and I apologize in advance. So Piotr?
Yes, it's
right.
Peter in English.
Oh, well, perfect. That's easy. Peter is going to demo Kubernetes-entrypoint for us, and with that, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen. It should be, which one? Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so today I wanted to show you the Kubernetes-entrypoint. So this is an okay, I will introduce myself. I'm Piotr, Peter. I'm a software engineer working in Intel in Poland. And we are working on StackNetes project, which is OpenStack on Kubernetes. And while developing StackNetes, we also did Kubernetes-entrypoint. So basically, Kubernetes-entrypoint lets us to deploy complex application on top of Kubernetes. So basically, we just put this application as a Docker entry point in each container. And this container queries directly Kubernetes API to see if its dependencies are resolved before launching the specific application. So we implemented some key dependencies like service, container, daemon set, job, config, and socket. And maybe I will go to the terminal. Can you see the terminal?
Yes.
Okay, so I will start. So first of all, I will deploy the Horizon. Horizon is an UI for OpenStack, and I will show you how our manifest looks like. So basically, we just pass the environment variables to this entry point, and it knows what to do. So right here, we have dependency service. It means that the application should only start after Keystone API service and Memcache has endpoints, so it can proxy the traffic, and then it should launch this command. So basically, it's a bash script. And when we go to our Horizon, which is deployed, and see the logs of it, we can see that it's waiting for Memcache. So maybe I will run logs here so it will be more clear. Right now I will deploy Memcache. Memcache has no dependencies. And right now we can see that our application said that service has just showed up, but it still has no endpoints. And when Memcache becomes ready in Kubernetes, the Horizon, which is basically the Apache, starts. So right now, I will run another service, which is Nova. Nova is the core service of OpenStack. And in the meantime, I will show you how our manifest for Nova looks like. So I will take compute node. So right here, we introduce another dependencies is dependency jobs. So basically, it waits till those specific jobs will be completed. We have dependency service, which I was talking about, and dependency daemon set. So this one means that Neutron Open vSwitch daemon set has to have a pod running on the same host before running this one. this pod. And dependency config, I will talk about it later. So let's see. Nova is still being created. Okay, we can see that pods are being deployed. We are waiting for our Nova compute. Okay, Nova compute is starting to run. Just wait. Okay, it's running. So let's see what this pod, what logs of this pod is saying. So we can see that the Neutron Open vSwitch failed. Daemon set extension doesn't exist. So let's deploy Neutron and see how Neutron looks like in the inside. So I know it's Open vSwitch. So right here we have another dependency, which is Dependency Container. It only works for multi-container pods, and basically it means that we can specify the right order for containers in pod to be run. We can see that Neutron Open vSwitch agent container should only be run after Open vSwitch DB server and Open vSwitch vSwitchD became ready. So Open vSwitch DB server is right here, so it's another container in this pod, and vSwitchD is right there. So it's another container in this pod. So let's see, Neutron is still working. So right now we should look at our Nova for logs of Nova compute. It says that Neutron Open vSwitch is being created, and the Neutron Open vSwitch pod on this exact host where Nova compute is, it became ready. So right now I will try to explain what config dependency is. So Kubernetes environment is dynamic, so each pod receives dynamic APIs, hostname, etc. Right now, Kubernetes lacks templating of config maps on the container level. I know there is a pull request in the upstream, but it's still being discussed. So basically, we have to specify in the OpenStack configs the IP addresses. For example, I will show here, not network IP address. So this is the IP address of the pod, and our container can template this config on the container level. So basically, config maps are mounted read-only. So we mount config maps in an arbitrary direction, and then we template this config and put it in the right direction. So the templated config will look like this. And right here we can see that the IP address of this pod is templated on the container level. Okay, so this is all that I prepared for the demo, and the repository for this Kubernetes-entrypoint is Kubernetes-entrypoint, and right now we use this application for every container in the Kubernetes project. You can see it, and we deploy OpenStack on Kubernetes uses this application. Thank you very much. So if you have any question, please ask me.
So does this work with non-OpenStack installations?
Yes, of course. We try to keep it generic, so you can just specify any service, any daemon set, any job, and any config as you like. It's not bounded to OpenStack. But when I think like for a complex application, OpenStack is like the real example of a really complex deployment of application.
Any other questions for Peter? Okay, there's some stuff going on in chat. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to stand-ups. Matt Betcher, are you here to give us a Helm update?
Yep. Let me start my video here. I'm going to stop screen sharing, or I don't care. I don't need the screen. This week we're looking to cut the beta 1 release of Helm and Tiller. So we have been plowing through the issue queue, really trying to buckle down on the issues that are high priority, the issues that are causing crashes. And actually along the way, we've managed to close a whole bunch of other ones. The documentation is starting to shape up. And so we feel like we have made good progress on improving stability. Thank you to the many people who have contributed both issues and PRs, because that has helped us keep our velocity much higher than we otherwise would have been able to. So kind of the tentative plan is to be looking at Thursday was that what we decided on? I can't remember the exact day.
I think it was midweek, so Wednesday probably.
Wednesday? So Wednesday, shooting for Wednesday for a release of the beta 1. And then the plan is we will just continue churning through beta cycle issues until we feel like we've hit a stable enough point to release RC1. And that's sort of our goal. So we're not giving firm timelines for when we'll hit 2.0 final, because we have a very strong commitment to not having any big major bugs left in there. And we know that with a project like this, where people are just picking something up like this for the first time, we're in uncharted waters, to extend the nautical metaphor to painful lengths. So again, really value anybody who jumps into the issue queue and files bugs. Even duplicate bugs are good for us at this point, because we're learning where people are stumbling on things and what kinds of issues have cropped up repeatedly. In a lot of cases, we're finding little nitty sorts of bugs between different versions of Kubernetes simply because of the way things like SOCAT are set up, for example. So again, thank you everybody who's been participating. Hopefully the news on the Thursday developer call will be that we have the beta 1 release out and are starting work on beta 2. That's all I got.
Thanks, Matt. Evan, do you want to add anything about the Kubernetes-charts repo?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, I think we now have the incubator repo also being synced to a chart repo on Google Storage. So I think you can add that. I think it's in the documentation now. So if you go to the charts repo, you'll be able to see how to add that repo in addition to the stable one. And as usual, we're looking for contributors for charts. And as Helm is becoming more stable, I think it's going to be more important to have a representative set of charts in that repository. So it'd be great to see a lot more. Vic and I will be around to review any pull requests there.
Awesome, thanks. Vic, how's the CI going on that repo?
So it's going well. Yesterday I switched us to an alpha cluster, so now the incubator charts should be able to get passing CI as those come in, and everything else has been pretty stable as far as being able to get results from charts and stuff like that. The next phase is really adding more functional testing into those and adding regression testing, basically the charts that are already in master, continuously testing those against the latest version of Kubernetes. For example, in 1.4, they got a little stricter on integers being integers versus integers as strings. So that caused a few charts to break that were already kind of in master. So I'm going to try to catch those a little bit earlier, and that'll be kind of the next phase of CI there.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. All right, so we have some PetSet updates as well. I'll hand it over to Eric. I believe you had an update, and then after that we can go to Clayton.
Yep, hey. So we are aiming to have a thing called a beta in 1.5. I don't think it's going to have everything we wanted to have in beta in it, but we do want to be able to make some progress and get more feedback from people that can't use alpha stuff. We are going to rename PetSet to something else, and you'll see an email, if you haven't already, in sometime today about that, and there will be a community voting process for that. We'll nominate a reasonable set of names, and we'll pick something from out of that process. One thing I'm expecting PetSets to do really well and to us to focus more on is node upgrade compatibility. If you want to upgrade nodes, PetSet should just absolutely work and not care that you're having your nodes be upgraded if they're properly authored. That also means we're also gonna make sure we have, for 1.5, some kind of fencing support. That means dealing with partitioned nodes if the kubelet's unresponsive or whatever. So unlike a replica set where we favor having at least the right number of replicas, meaning availability and performance, those are favored over consistency. With PetSet, we're going to favor consistency, and it's going to be very conservative about not starting a new copy if there could be another one running. One other thing we probably won't have done in 1.5, but I hope to make sure that we work towards for GA is what I call forkability, meaning if someone takes the PetSet code and like makes their own fork and calls it like, my set, that it should work, because there aren't any things about PetSet that are like hard coded. If you run it as a third-party controller, it should basically do the same thing, because I think people will want to customize it to their specific applications. PetSet is not the answer to everything. It is a good starting point for a lot of apps. So a lot of the focus has been on the fencing issue and getting more tests around that. And I expect to have good E2Es for that by the time by the end of 1.5. One of the features we may not support, we definitely won't support for 1.5, and we may not support ever maybe, is sticky IPs. That does mean Cassandra probably won't work great with PetSets unless they make some changes or we use it in more restricted ways. We can't make everyone happy. And then another area we're trying to figure out, which we don't have an answer for, is like how to distinguish and handle scale down events versus like I'm updating but need to replace this instance of a PetSet. Those are the key points in my mind, and then I can take questions, or if Clayton wants to talk about anything I missed, or then we can do that now.
All right, any questions for Eric while we have him?
I had one question, Eric. This is Vic. So is there a place where the PetSet full life cycle of the application is defined, and like what a scale up and scale down will actually do within kind of that set of pods?
I don't believe there's a document that spells that out, and there needs to be for beta. So yes.
Also, Eric, I would add to Vic's comment, this is Chris Love. Upgrades, whatever style we have them in for beta, if we could get that documented as well, that would be awesome.
For 1.5, the plan is probably going to be that you update the template and kick them over one by one. And maybe there'll be a tool support, but it probably won't be much information on the controller side.
Right, but if we could document that in detail, give an example.
Yep. Okay.
All right, anything else for Eric? Okay, let's go on to Clayton. Clayton, are you here? Okay, cool. He can't be here, but he emailed his update, or is going to email his update. All right, app controller folks, are y'all here?
I'm here. Hi, Maciej here. Yeah, so this update will be quick. Not much change since last week. We released 0.1 version as a tag. It's like pre-production, but it's quite stable. And we are working on working use cases for app controller. That's why we didn't see much changes in the code. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's the status. So a fast one.
Awesome. Any questions? Okay. And then just from me.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry. Was there an app controller question?
I can't see any.
Okay. All right. And then, so Matt and I will be doing a quick update for the Kubernetes community meeting this week on our SIG and what we've been focusing on. So feel free to join in and jump in if you have anything to add there. And
okay, yeah, sure.
And I'll share just in general, I'll share the slides for what we'll be presenting to the SIG before we actually present it. So if you have anything to add or edit, let me know.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so does anybody else have any updates or any stand-ups for us? And I forgot to leave a question section for the Helm and Kubernetes-charts folks. So does anybody have any questions about Helm or the Kubernetes-charts repo? Okay. Then we'll just go on to the next item. Matt Farina, you have the next item, so I'll let you take it away about the Go client.
Yes, so for anybody who's been importing all of Kubernetes to use in their application because they want to get to the client libraries, there is now a Go client. And I wanted to share it here. And some of this has come up in discussion of its architecture, versioning, and things like that. So I just dropped it into chat. In fact, maybe I'll even share my screen. Let's see. Just to discuss it. Where? Let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen?
So in SIG API machinery, they've been focusing on a Go client. And what you can see is the GitHub repo for this client, and it can be, pulled in. But you'll see that it has some, so two things. One, it's got some structural elements. And I wish Clayton were here. He could talk to them more. You'll see to talk to Kubernetes 1.4 or to talk to Kubernetes 1.5, there are actually different folders. And you'll see they've got their own vendor support, their own elements, and they could be different. Now, 1.5 should be able to talk to Kubernetes 1.4 as well as Kubernetes 1.5, but this is kind of the structure right now. There is an issue for anybody who's interested in how the versioning is going to work. Issue 9 is out there to approach this topic, but more than one person has brought this up to me. So those of you who are interested in a client or interested in how the Go client does versioning and does interaction, that's being handled in SIG API machinery. And I just wanted to bring this up first, that there is a client, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who've approached me about the architecture of it, there's an issue. And Wednesdays is SIG API machinery, if you want to jump in on that or go over there to get involvement, because they're the ones who are doing this. And so this is the first client. There have been discussions about other ones, but I just wanted to kind of highlight it and talk about it because this is, and are there other clients out there that for different languages for interacting with the Kubernetes API? Since we're interested in running apps and talking to the Kubernetes API to do things. Just wanted to bring this up. So are there any questions? Anybody who wants to jump in? I know a little bit about this. Does anybody use this client?
Yeah, we've used it in a couple of projects.
Yes, thank goodness, because importing Kubernetes into vendor is not pleasant.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Has it worked well?
Yeah, in fact, our migration from the big repo to the small repo was pretty much a find replace on a couple import paths for our specific use case. So both the migration and usage were pretty smooth.
Good. Well, how does it work? How do you like the internal structure for versioning against Kubernetes 1.4 versus 1.5 and how they should do that?
Well, specifically how they're versioned is, in my opinion, is suboptimal, but acceptable.
Okay. All right. So for anybody who doesn't know, you don't have to import all of Kubernetes anymore when you're doing Go work. Does anybody know of clients in other languages?
There is a Python one you can see in the Deis controller. I don't recall if it's hand-rolled or official. I think it's hand-rolled if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, so as we identify some of these, it's probably going to be useful to folks who are writing applications against the API to be able to find them in one place. So maybe that's something that we can start to gather as we have more of these. But that's all I was looking to talk about today. So with that, I will stop sharing. And
Awesome.
Michelle?
Thanks, Matt Farina. Okay, so we had discussed a long time back about creating a Kubernetes best practice guide. Some of us who have been developing apps in Kubernetes have learned some things that are not in the docs. And so the idea was to form a document or something around that to then contribute somewhere. Matt Farina, that was something I think that you started the thread on. Do you know where that landed, and does anybody have any interest in continuing that initiative?
So I don't remember where it landed. I have interest in seeing that continue. I've been starting to bring folks up to speed on Kubernetes and operating applications in there, and discovering that it's not always intuitive, even for people who understand the space, much less, some of us deal with enterprise developers coming from legacy environments and the huge jump that they have to make. Figuring out how to document some of this, I'm now learning is probably more useful than I even thought it used to be. So I'd love to see the effort continue. And so anybody who's interested, feel free to reach out to me. I'll email again, but it's probably worth organizing around this.
Okay, awesome. I'd love to see that as well. So I'll go ahead and help as well. Does anybody have anything to add on this topic? Okay, great. We'll just continue on the email thread then. Okay, that leaves us some time for open discussion. Does anybody have something they'd like to discuss, ask, or share? Now is the time.
Matt Farina, this is Matt Fisher from DAIS. I'm just talking about the initiative for the documentation. Which email thread are you speaking of in particular?
I think there was an email thread on SIG-Apps list some time ago, I think.
Oh,
we
okay.
were talking about it. I'd have to go dig it out.
Okay, thank you.
I'll start a new email thread.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to take a look and be interested in that.
Awesome. And this is a good place, I think, to just give a reminder. We do have some new folks. So if you're not in the SIG-Apps Google group, then feel free to join, and I can provide some instructions on how to do that in the channel. Does anybody have anything else to talk about today? Okay, so lately we've had the theme of CI/CD in our Kubernetes demos with a sprinkle of other things here and there, which is awesome. I really liked the theme. I thought it was very consistent. So another theme that we could possibly continue or start and then continue throughout the end of this month and maybe into next month is how we actually develop apps in Kubernetes. What does your workflow look like? That's come up several times in the past few weeks with conversations I've had in Slack. So if that's interesting to anyone, please feel free to throw up a demo. We're fine to have 1 to 2 demos every week now that we have a longer time period to chat in. So if that's interesting to you, let's start that theme or any other theme that we might find interesting. Okay, I don't have anything else to add, so final call. All right, thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week at SIG-Apps.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, S.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thanks.